Good morning, Rabboisai. Live from a bedroom in Far Rockaway. What's Shlomi saying? I don't know. You don't hear? We could do it again. Hold on. I'm going on. What do you guys have to say? For that, you stop me.
Don't forget.
When I say wrong shot in the Gemara, everything is good. For that, you stop me. Wow. Okay. Good vach, Rabboisai. If you're in America, it's the 12th day in the Omer. If you're in Eretz Yisrael, it's the 13th day in the Omer. Lilui Nishmat Simi Mirasi Rusbas Mordechai. Today's shir is a memory of Jay Spector's mother, Gittel Bas Eliezer Meir, by the Friends of MDY, and by Ira Greenstein, Lilui Nishmat Levi ben Isidor, Professor Liviu, Librescu, on his yahrzeit, 28 of Nisan. The Neshamois should have an aliyah. Dear Rebellion crew, thank you for the amazing opportunity last night to witness a shir firsthand. It is so impressive to see all of the work that goes into producing a professional show every day, from the pre-printing of the charts to the multiple video cameras, not to mention the actual shir, which was spellbinding as usual. I plan to write a much longer email sometime, but I just wanted to comment on the amazing sense of achdus that I felt during the shir last night. I grew up in Brooklyn and have been davening next to Hasidim and shopping with them at the supermarket for years. However, it was a totally different feeling to sit down and learn together with them, join in our effort to try to understand the intricacies of the shofars in the Beis Hamikdash. Halavai, we should be zoche to soon stand together by the real shofars in the Beis Hamikdash. Bevias Goyel Amen. Thank you again for your amazing shir and constant encouragement every day. Binyamin Bloomberg, Queens. So I have to say, I'm still on a tremendous high. I don't remember feeling like this. The feeling that I had last night was one of a kind. There was such energy in the room. It was incredible. From Yoeli Elkan and Aaron Hirsch and who else? I think it was Akiva Ziegler. What is it? Maybe it was him who drove back. But anyways, I know Yoeli Elkan and Aaron Hirsch drove in from Lakewood. And my mechutin, Eli Kapelovich came, and Kitzer, Mayor Jacob's uncle, and the Kupperman boys. It was gewaldig. It was mamish gewaldig. No, bemes, unbelievable sense. I was so excited when I came home. I made a big mistake. Here's what happened. One of my best friends, David Schwab, wanted to drive me home. I told him, if you drive me home, I'm gonna not be able to go to sleep until 5 o'clock. We're gonna end up schmoozing. So let me go with somebody else. Shlomi Klein offered to drive me in his nice, fancy pickup truck, Denali, yeah. Kitzer, we get it there. So I was gewaldig, going to get home. Ended up schmoozing again to 4 o'clock. It was great. But, listen to this. A conversation between that Litvak from Ponovich, the guy that grew up on the lap of Rav Shach, hearing stories from Shlomi Klein the entire way about the Rebbe, and calling Rav Shach Shach. It was gewaldig. It was mamish gewaldig. And Shach said this, and Shach that, and the Rebbe, and his father was a guy, unbelievable. Bemes. Achtos, I told him, I said, you Shlomi Klein, you're responsible for bringing so many people to Torah, and part of this Achtos, when people see that Lubavitcher could sit and learn Torah together with the Litvak, it changes everything. It was a great conversation, Shkoyach Shlomi. We are up to, they're giving out free Art Scroll Gemaras to whoever joins this year. We're up to 430 Gemaras given out. Art Scroll yesterday alone sent out 250 Gemaras. And I want to say, Grace Yishkoyach, I didn't mention yesterday by name, Benjamin Schwartz. Not only did he sponsor the shir in his house and they put out food for 100 people and only a handful of people showed up because it was 15-minute notice, but he's also sponsoring a significant amount of those Gemaras. Tremendous Yishkoyach. Rabboisai, we're starting Yuma. It's a 3-month Masechta, 90 days. It's an amazing Masechta. It's time to try to convince your friends in Shul this Shabbos. You see a friend, say, let's go, let's learn Torah. What are they going to tell you? It's Daf Yomi is not for them, it's too fast. You know all the excuses. You know it's all Yetzirah. It's baloney. Tell them about the consistency. Excuse me. The consistency of Daf Yomi, how it will change their life. Explain to them. We got to get more people on board. tell them about the free Gemara if you want. Here's another one. Thank you for your shir tonight. The in-person experience is another level compared to watching you on YouTube. I appreciate everything you put into your shir. All the best, Yechiel Pfeiffer. And maybe I'll save this for a different time. Okay, fine. Rabbi Isai, here we go. Oh, does that mean? No, that can't be. Okay. You know, the printer situation. Only one thing printed out of... Okay. I didn't have that many charts anyway. So we only have one little picture in black and white. Today is Daf Chof. 2 more Daf to Masechet Shekalim. Final 2 Daf of Yerushalmi you're going to be learning for the next 6 years. Holding the last line in Daf Yomi Amud Beis, Rav Nochas L'Tamon. Rav, famous Amoira from Bavel. Rav Nochas L'Tamon. When he went to Bavel, Chamtoin, he saw. We had that lashon yesterday. Chama. He observed Mikilin that they're very makel in the halacha of basar shenesalim and ayin. That's meat that doesn't have Jewish supervision, and it's possible that it's switched with a non-kosher piece of meat. The chamer alehain, and he laid it into them real strong. He was not pleased with what he saw. He saw that they would just leave the meat and go, and he instituted different things. For instance, Chad Barnash, Ozal, top of Daf Chof Amud Aleph. Boy, Mishazogo is koifte begoy naharo, bin shiso v'azolei. He wanted to wash up his meat in the river. They didn't have sinks in those days. They took the meat down to the river, and one of them he forgot they're in the river. Chazer boy misvino. So he went back to retrieve his piece of meat. Nice expensive piece of meat. Omali Rab Asolach. Nope. What are you going to do? You're going to go back to the river and you're going to go to the exact same spot that you left your meat. And it looks the exact same thing. So you're going to take it and you're going to say, that's the meat I left there. I am not allowing this. You know why? Because you guys here in Bavel, you don't know how to be careful with basar shenesalim and ayin. And therefore, it's all over. Don't take it. Omali Rab Asolach. Dina Tamar ahi shotav nahara. It's very possible the river came and swept away that piece of meat of yours. And it's possible that what you have now is something completely different. Now, it's not that reasonable to say that that's what happened, but Rav had to show them that you have to be careful with basar shenesalim. You have to be choshesh for such things. All right. No, I was just thinking, going back to the excitement of the daf of yesterday. It was amazing. Got to do it again. Borough Park, maybe 50 people showed up. And you have to think about it. It was 12:15 in the morning with very little notice. I don't know, a few hours notice. Imagine if it was the middle of the day. But when I was telling Eli Dykman, because he's trying to figure out Motzi Shabbos, Sunday, he said, I'm mamish excited. I was pumped. And he said, I listened to the whole shir again just to relive that excitement. So I'm not the only one. All right, beautiful. So the Gemara. Chad Barnash, another story. There was a guy walking in the marketplace and he was holding out a piece of meat. Also, daisa, a vulture came. V'chatafte minei utlakte. A vulture. Now, by the way, in Eretz Yisrael, I didn't know this, but they call a nesher. I always thought a nesher is an eagle. And if you ever go to Eretz Yisrael and you want to see live, well, they call them nesharim, vultures. You go to this place called Gamla up north. Beautiful place. It's antiques, thousands of years old, and the vultures, they're massive. Huge wingspan, they're 8-10 feet wide, and they're flying around with it. Vultures. I was once with Avi Kamiansky. We're in the Machtesh Rimon, it's called. We did an overnight camping trip, and then when I got up in the morning, I said, it was back in the day. I wasn't giving a shir or anything. I had plenty of time. Chas v'shalom. Like, I'm halfway Teilat. I got to go scuba diving. I'll see you later. You take my kids home. So I'm halfway. I leave the Machtesh, and all of a sudden I see a sign on the road. It says, "Look out for vultures, for nesher." So I get off the road and I go towards the vultures, and all of a sudden I see in front of me a vulture, and he's on the ground, standing on the ground. So I pull out my phone immediately and I start videotaping this vulture. And vultures could eat people, dead people, whatever. And look it up in India. That's how they bury the people. They throw it out to the vultures. But they eat elephants and all sorts of stuff. Not a easy animal to deal with. So I go towards this vulture and he's staring at me. But it's on video. So it's geschmack. It gets better and better. I keep on going towards it. I have a picture of it, but it's in black and white. You see what I'm seeing here? This is what it looks like. I don't know, it's like 3 feet above the ground, massive animal. And I decide I'm gonna, maybe if he doesn't want to move, I'm just gonna grab its head. So I go real close, and I'm like 4 feet away from it, and I realize that this is a piece of plastic. It's not a vulture. The Israelis put it out there, stam for shtick. Anyways, okay. That was the mice of the vultures. Don't fall for it. If you're on the way to Eilat and it says, look out for vultures. Yeah, they're in the ear, but the guy next to where we look out, that's not the real thing. All right, Zok the Gemara. So comes a vulture and grabs the piece of meat. These are aggressive animals, aggressive birds. Grabs the piece of meat from this guy. And he watches it. He sees the vulture flying around. He sees a piece of meat dropping. Chazar boy misvina. So he figures, okay, he runs down the block to retrieve this piece of meat. No, I'm not going to allow this. It's very possible the vulture just came off a kill and he has buffalo meat on him, treif, and he deposited the buffalo meat and your meat he took home. Again, far-fetched kind of fear, but we got to be careful. I see that you guys in Bavel are not careful. We got to be careful here. And your piece he took to eat. He's makbid on kosher. He got rid of the non-kosher and he ate the kosher one. Says Gemara, Ginai Shot of Zikin. There's a river called Ginai, and it took with it these flasks of wine. Also of the Kumer of Yitzchok by Eliezer of Omer, Yechkimun Shapayik Etrei. If the guys that make the knot on top could recognize their own knot, everybody has their own signature knot. If they can recognize it, then it's kosher. We're not worried about Yain Nesach, Stam Yenon. Another story. Nukaniko Ishtachach Beknishto du Bule. So there's another, like some sort of container of wine that was found in the shul, Knishta, the shul, where? In Bule. Also, the Kumir Rabbi Yirmiyah came to Rabbi Yirmiyah. Omer, Yachkimun Sikiraya, Sikiyaraya. It's always means red. If you could recognize, the seal, the red seal that they put on it, the dye that they put on it to seal the wine, each person has their own signature, then every time it's good to go. Gedit Tzali, Ishtakach Bistra, Bisrata, they found a roasted goat. Going back to yesterday's sugya, no hechsher, nothing. You don't know, it might be Lubavitch hechsher, it might be bells, it might be Badat, and it might be treif. I don't know. But it looks like a nice roasted goat. What do I do with it? Bisrotet Gufta. It was in the street in Gufta. What is the concern? There's only 2 concerns here. The concern is, first of all, could you keep it? You found meat. Who says you could keep it? Hashavas Aveda. That's concern number 1. Concern number 2 is it kosher? So the Gemara talks about both concerns, and we go through this twice in a row. A freebie for Friday. You could keep it. Because if you're able to open up the lion's mouth and retrieve some sort of goat that he grabbed, or any your neighbor's diamond, it's yours, because your neighbor has what is called yiyush. He gave up on it. As soon as he sees a lion taking his possession, on that moment, he's done with it. He realizes he's never going to have it. You go after the lion and you save it, then it's yours. Miyada gayas. If the bad guys come in, the soldiers, whoever they are, they come, they take your stuff. In your mind, you gave up. It's theirs. So if your neighbor is a tough guy, he also has a gun and goes after him. He takes the stuff back. It's his. Mishunas hayam, mishunas hanar, the overflow of the river, of the ocean, it comes and takes stuff. You say, "Oy vey, it's lost." You call up the insurance company. You gave up. It's yush. Umisrati gdoila, umiflat gdoila, from large streets and marketplaces. So that's the concept of Yush that we learned in 4th grade in Elimitzias. Okay, Yush. And therefore, this meat has Yush. Your friend dropped the meat. He knows he's never going to get it back. No, it doesn't have a simon. You get it. Now, what about treif? You're concerned that a guy shechted it, that it's treif. That's not a problem. Why? Over here we have a roiv. Who lives in Borough Park? They told me there's barely any guy in there. It's a roiv. 90% of the people there are Jewish. I don't know about the 5 towns. If you can say this, it depends what block. So if you're in a place, the roiv, then you can eat it. Great. Bishtakach, says the Gemara, and lo and behold, just to prove that the Torah is correct in its assumption. In other words, we could rely on a roiv, and we rely on Yush. Bishtakach min the base Rebbe. It happens to be, at the end of the day, we found out that Rebbe's people lost this meat, so you know that it was kosher meat. Same story, another time. Eagle the Guvna, they found around, what is it called? A block of cheese. So, you know, you have the problem of, this is real cheese of a akum, that's treif. They put in the oils and everything. The chazer they use, the Gemara talks about how they smear the top with fat from davar acher, from the PIG, from that gift they gave me at the Siyum. Igul de Guvna ishtakach bepundiko de Levi. He had an inn, and they found it over there. Same thing. What are the concerns? Are you allowed to keep it? Yeah. The guy is if you're able to save it from the ocean, from the waves, from the tsunami, whatever it is, it's yours. Because the concept of Yush. Now, what's the concern? That it might be a non-kosher cheese. Okay, we have a roiv here. So you're concerned about the cheese of a guy? Yeah, roiv mahachi drachim. Most of the people walking around there are Jewish. And sure enough, same story. At the end of the day, it turned out that it actually was kosher cheese. Is Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi. Oh, Rabbi Mana, Kumer Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Mana said in front of Rabbi Yossi. Nevertheless, even though we just learned that we could rely on the concept of Yush, I saw, again, remember the first word that we learned today, Rav Nochas Taman, Chamtoin, he saw. Over here, it's another lashon of seeing, Chamyan, I observed Rabbanon Machrizin. Tamid Chachamim, they're not going to rely on the Yush. A guy lost a big block of cheese, he lost a fat piece of meat, you're going to go eat it? Okay, didn't have a simon. I'm going to do achrazah. I'm not saying la halacha, but I recall when we were learning Bamitzia and other places, if you find cash, they actually said over there that if you try to return cash that doesn't have a simon, then you're a chassid shaita. So a lashon like that. Again, I'm not quoting la halacha. I just something that I recall. I might be completely off, but this is a concept also that if it's zero chance that you could return it, then you don't have to be makbid. At the opposite, if you're makbid, then they call you a shaita. But in certain cases, because adam asil mashmish bekisa b'chol shah, there's such a thing that a person constantly, I don't know, maybe yesh l'chag between money and other things. Ein sham. Okay. Omer I saw a chacham that give it back. Omer lei atin aviyasa mishkachas lo nisav. What you're not gonna? What are you gonna do? You're not gonna keep it for yourself. Your father himself doesn't hold like you. I wish I could find something, he says. And now I wish I could find something from the ulaga, from the intersection, and in Bekitzer. So your father doesn't hold like you. What, you're better than your father? No way. Afilu Kain, says the Gemara, Ashkach v'li nosav. No, he himself, Ramana, found something, he didn't keep it. He did achraza, he announced it and gave it back. Halacha Gimel. The official Mishnah is sponsored for shidduch, zchus shidduch, for Dvaira bas Leah Gittel and Dvaira bas Suri. Says the Mishnah Behemos Shenimtzes Mishalayim Vad Migdal Eder. So again, we're going back. Yesterday we started the perek, different things that you find. What do you do with them? You find an animal, a loose animal. It's a roi for a carbon. You find it from Yerushalayim all the way till Migdal Eder, wherever that is. That distance, let's say it's 10 miles out of Yerushalayim, so the circumference of 10 miles around Yerushalayim. Depends. If it's a male, it's most likely a oila, because an oila could only be a male. So you bring it as a oila. Nekevos, and if it's a nekeva, zivche shlamim, it goes for a shlamim. As the Gemara is going to discuss, a shlamim could be a zoche or a nekeva. So the fact that it's a nekeva tells us that it could be a shlamim. But if it's a zoche, we're going to have a problem. Maybe it's a shlamim. Who told you it's an oila? Omer, haroi lipsachim psachim lipsachim. Now, we just finished Mesechtes Psachim, so we all know about this, besides the new guys, the 440 new guys. So, more, went up to 450, sorry. But there's more. There's guys that didn't get Gemaras, and they're coming, whatever. Lamashah. In Mesechtes Psachim, what do we learn? Ask people they might not know. In order for it to be a carbon Pesach, it has to be a zachar, and it has to be within a year old. That's it. And of course, a goat or a sheep, but it can't be a cow. So you see a sheep, a shepsela running around, a little baby shepsela, so you know this could be for a carbon Pesach. If it's 30 days before Pesach, that's it. It's a Pesach. It's a carbon Pesach. Not a shlamim and not a oila. Carbon Pesach. It's a zocher. It could be an oila. No, it's a Pesach. Somebody found it. They would say, "Listen, come here. You are responsible. You are responsible for the wine that goes together with it. You found it. Tough luck. You have to pay from your pocket some wine." So people didn't want to be responsible for the wine. It was too much for them. They ran. I know everybody's thinking, what? Sugar. If it was me, I would for sure not run away. You know what? People had issues all the way back then as well, and they ran away. They didn't want to bring the 2 gallons or whatever it was of wine. Takanas Bezdin. And here we go. There's a list of Takanas Bezdin in the Mishnah. Bezdin made a special Takana and said, listen, if you find an animal, we're not going to force you to pay for the wine. Don't worry. Just return it. Let us be makar of it. We'll take care of the wine. Omer b'Shimon, Shiva Dvarim Tkinu Bezdin. Bezdin were mistaken 7 things. That was one of the 7. A non-Jew who sends a carbon oil to Hashem, the whole thing goes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we learned the other day, besides the hide. Most of the time, if they sent it, they obviously couldn't bring it themselves. They lived in a faraway country. And he sent wine. Now, wine from a guy, we do not put on the Mizbeach. Stam Yedam might be Avodah Zarah. So it means it's the money that goes for the wine. So if he sent a pack of money, a little wallet on top of the animal, so we take the money and we buy Nesachim, that's not a problem. We love, and if he didn't include, the guy is not a Talmud Chacham, he didn't realize that it needs to go with wine. Mishal Tzibur, Kraven Mishal Tzibur. Then the community pays for it. You have a ger who doesn't have any relatives, and he left over some karbanos, some yeshlin nesachim, Kraven Mishaloi. If he left over the nesachim for it, then you use that for that. V'im lav, if he just left over money and any Jew came by and took it, then that person is zchus, so he has nothing left. Kraven Mishal Tzibur, we pay for it. Udnai Bezdin, and Bezdin also created a condition. We learned it, and we're going to learn a little bit more about it. Kohen Gadol every single day has to bring a minchas chavitin, asir seifa. It's called a nisaron. It's an amount of flour. He has to pay for it from his own pocket. Now, what happens if he designated but he died? So at the end of the day, if we didn't find, he didn't designate. We didn't find another Kohen Gadol yet. Still elections, whatever it is. So, but we have to bring a carbon for him. So we bring it, we pay for it. Rabbi Doimer Mishal Yarshim, he doesn't have to bring a carbon chavitan, he's dead. But we bring one from the tzibur. Rabbi Doimer Mishal Yarshim. No, it comes from the Yarshim Ushlema Isakreva, as we're going to learn. The Karban, the Minchas Chavitin, we brought it twice a day. It was one thing, one Isarim that he splits in half in the morning, half in the evening. But when the Yarshim bring it, or even the Tzibur, they bring it in one shot. It's one whole Isarim in one time. Says, what else did the Bezdin do? They instituted the salt that goes on the Mizbeach, on Korbanos. This is the wood, of course, that you use to burn the Korbanos. If a Kohen needs to make a nice steak, he's in the Beis Hamikdash, there's so much steak going around there, and you have to make sure that you consume everything. Otherwise, it's nicer. So we help him out. Mordechai Sapaznik, I missed you last night. Chaval, you didn't come. It was gewaldig, but I saw Yitzi. It was great. So they could use the salt. They could use little spices on their steak. They could use the wood for the barbecue. It's fine. Why? Because Bezdin, even though it's Hegdish, Bezdin made it tonight that they could use it. It won't be Hegdish if they want to use it. Again, when it comes to the word Me'ilah, it's always confusing. It's always the opposite of what you think. If you're just reading Hebrew, you think it means you should not benefit from the para aduma, the ashes, but that's not what it means. It means you're not over. There's no isser of Me'ilah if by mistake you use the ashes of the para aduma, and we're going to discuss. Not like what we learned last night, but over here you're going to see what we learned last night. That what? That if a woman, let's say, gives birth, and she doesn't want to stick around the Beis Hamikdash all day long, she has to do carpool, so she takes the money or she takes the birds, or she puts it in a pushka. Now, what happens if the birds are no good? They're broken. They're a mum that's no good. So the replacement, we promise her, don't worry, go home. We'll take care of it. So she's taken care of. But somebody has to replace those birds. She needs a kapara. Who pays for it? Tanakama says community pays for it. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Hamisabek Sakinim, Humisabek Zapsulis, and that's what we learned last night. That the vendor who makes all that money dealing with the Beis Hamikdash, one of the deals is, what are the conditions? You want to deal with Beis Hamikdash, you need to pay for all the bad stuff, all the returns. Says the Gemara. So there's a massive shinui ad girsin. I don't want to do it to everybody. Let's see if we can do it inside without the gra on the side, because it's 20 lines of gra. Rabbi Shaya Rabba Omar Labo B'dmeim. No, let's go to the gra. Let's do it. I think. And if it doesn't go to the gra, we'll go back. Says the gra on the side. Ois Aleph. It's very, very confusing. We have to change the whole thing. He says, it's a question. Shlomim doesn't come from a zachar. Why are you telling me that if you find a zachar, automatically assume it's a ayla? What if it's a shlomim? If a person finds this animal and he wants to be lifnim mishrusadin, he wants to do the guy that lost it a favor. So he says, let me do this. Let me take out the animal out of circulation. Let me take away the kedusha from it, and let me instead give two piles of money. One pile will go towards the ayla, one pile will go towards the shlamim. How can you do this l'chatchila? Taking something out of circulation. It's Bezdin already said that you could do it. It's not like you're coming and taking an ayla, and then Bezdin said whatever is necessary right now. It's unbelievable. Erev Yom Tov also we had like 55, right? It's like Zoom knows to limit at 55. I don't know what the pshat is. All Erev Yom Tovim, that's how it goes. Fine. I guess Eli Dykman has like an in with the guy in India, and he sends these fake watchers. It stops at 55. Okay. Shnai Bezdin. Ein ze meiz. Say what? You should go to Chatchil and do this. Ela holchem bem achar aroy. Im aroy scharim oilos. Im aroy nekevois zivchei shlamim. Depends. We look to see. What did he find it? What do we have draining around there? If most of them are oilos, then we assume this is oila. If not, we assume it's a shlamim. Omer v'ziro Look, I try to go with the Goin as much as possible, and that's how the Mesifta goes. I noticed, when I started looking here in the Arshman, I noticed they're not so into the Goin. They try to go more with what it says in the Girsa, try to reconcile the Girsa more, which is very difficult sometimes. Omer Tamon Tnai Bezdin ala Oivdon Shikrivu Oilois Kena at Omar Oivhachat Tnai Bezdin ala Oivdes Shikrivu Oilois Kach Tzorch Loimar. Just like we learned the other day, that if you have there's a Tnai Bezdin on things that are lost, so here also we're going to say there's a Tnai Bezdin on this Oila that it should, even if you think it might be a Shlamim, no, there's Tnai Bezdin. Bezdin already are in charge here. They decide where and what we should do with it. Okay, so where do you go to? Yeah, we have to turn the page. Yeah, we read that already inside the Gain. We just turned to Daf Yomi Beis. Zchus, sponsored by Yaakov Badner and Steven Sokol. Zchus for shidduch for Dina Tamar, bas Esther Rivka, and someone else for shidduch for my daughter, Leena bas Golda Leah. Just like we said before, by between Kinim and Oilos. We'll say it inside, why not? It's in the top of the Daf Yomi Beis. Even though I believe the guy already said it in his thing. Like we said yesterday, if you find money between Kinim and Oilos, between the two pushkas, so we say, oh, it's a Tnai Bezdin. Bezdin decide where the money should go beforehand. You're donating it al das Bezdin. So to over here on the animal itself, animals like money. Tnai Bezdin al moisras. Shikru Oilos. Tnai Bezdin al oivdos shikru Oilos. Or Yaakov Baracha. 4 lines down. Einzi mezid. How can you do this? If it's a shlamim, how are you going to go ahead and be marked of it as a oila? Amar le mikivin shutnai bezdin einze mezid. Okay. Omar Rabbi Yisrael. The good news here is that we learned this literally. I don't know. I think this is maybe the 4th time that we learned it. I think. Don't quote me on that. Or Rabbi Yisrael. This part. I heard once Rabbi Yehuda asking Shmuel. We definitely had it last night. If somebody designated, remember when I said the story about the Chafetz Chaim, on this line, somebody set aside money, and before he actually gave it, he died. It goes to Oilos. This we also had. And if the Kohen Gadol has left over money from his Minchas Chavitin, Sirus Eifa, Shaloi, from his own. There's nothing you can do with it. You can't use it for tomorrow. So what do? You get the money, you throw it into the Dead Sea where no fisherman or boat or anything like that could find the money. No, it goes towards the oilos for the Beis Hamikdash when there's a low time. So this Minchas Chavitin that we're talking about, the 10th of an Eifa, we call it an Isaron. Rabbi Yochanan Omar Choitzoisav Achikach Mikach. So we have Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan Shlakish back to Bavli again. Rabbi Yochanan, who actually wrote Yerushalmi, he says, he's the Golda in Eretz Yisrael. He says first you divide it. You have an Isaron, he has to bring one part of it, half of it in the morning, half of it in the afternoon. So first divide and then conquer. Divide and then make it Hegdish. In other words, you could do it at 2 different times. I'll take half, make it Kodesh today, by putting it into a Kli Shares. By me depositing the flour into a Kli that has Kedusha in it, it itself becomes Kodesh, Kedushas Haguf. So now I'll take it, because he set money aside. He said, okay, this $10 is for my Mincha. So that $10 is only, or that flour is only Kedushas Damim. It has a lesser degree of Kedusha on it. Once he puts that flour into the Kli, it jumps up to the highest Kedusha of Kedushas Haguf. It itself is inherently Kodesh, to the point you can't be Paidet, etc. Reb Shimon Lakish Omar Mekadesh v'achkach chotzah. It's not true. First you Mekadesh everything. You say it's all Kodesh. Then you split it in half. Reb Shimon Lakish Omar Mekadesh v'achkach chotzah. Masnisa pliga Reb Yochanan. You should know the Mishnah seems to argue on Reb Yochanan. Why? Because it says over there in Menachos that if the Kohen Gadol dies, the Kohen Gadol brought the one in the morning, and then he dies. What do? We have one more left for the day. So the second Kohen Gadol comes along, he brings his own Isarain and his makriv, half of it, for the evening. Now, hold on. The daily shtick here, but this is not funny anymore because I don't know where it is. Okay. That doesn't make sense. Of course, I'll find it as soon as I finish. No. Hold on, one more time. Oh, here it is. I don't know how I got there. Okay. Says Rish Lakish. So, from the Yisrael that the second Kohen Gadol brings, he's only makriv half of that on the Mizbeach. The other half goes to waste. So, what's the kasha? From the fact that the second Kohen Gadol cannot just designate half, and only half. Take half, be mekadosh in the klisharis, and bring that on the Mizbeach, and the other half, bring it home. There's no kedusha to it. There's no kedusha guf. From the fact that he has to throw it out, the second half, that proves that it has kedusha to it. But why? Because, like Rish Lakish says, all of it is kaddish in one shot. You only have one chance to be mekadosh it before you start, and then you divide it in half. Memela, since it has kedusha in it, and he cannot bring it tomorrow, it's designated for today. So you throw it out. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, there's no reason for him to throw it out. There has no kedusha. I could be mekadosh 50%. I split it in half and say this half is going on the Mizbeach, I'm going to be mekadosh. According to the Vilna Gaon, Rabbi Yochanan. Now, I like the Vilna Gaon here because according to whoever else, it's very, very difficult to understand what's going on here. Says the Vilna Gaon, another kash on Rabbi Yochanan. It says right over there that in the same case, first Kohen Gadol brought one part of his mincha and died. So the second Kohen Gadol brings the second part. Nimtzu comes out shnei chatzoim krevim u'shnei chatzoim avedim. So it comes out that half goes into the garbage, half of the first Kohen Gadol, half of the second Kohen Gadol, and half of the first Kohen Gadol goes on the Mizbeach. V'tanei Allah, and it says over there, mechza rishon u'mechza sheni, two bar tzurasam. The first half and the second half, the ones that we throw out, you have to leave it overnight so we have Leena, the yetzu, the base hasreifa. Now, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that there's no kedushas haguf because he wasn't mekadosh it yet. He died before he was mekadosh it. Especially the second Kohen Gadol, who for sure knew he shouldn't be mekadosh the second half. Why do you need two bar tzurasai? Says the Gemara. No, it became Kaddish Kedushas Aguf by being in the Kli. By being inside the Kli, that gave it Kedushas Aguf. Says the Gemara. This is Mamish from Parshas Shavua. By the way, let's go back for a second. We don't have to go back, but to understand the next sugya. It's in today's parsha. When Minchas Chinuch, the mincha, when a kohen becomes eligible to perform the Beis Hamikdash, he has to bring one of these minchas. And when a kohen gadol becomes eligible to become a kohen, they say, "Hey, you're the kohen gadol." He also brings his mincha, and every day he brings a mincha. So there's three menachas. There's one for a regular kohen, one time in his life. The first day that he's able to perform the avodah, he brings a mincha. One for the Kohen Gadol, for the very first time, without anything, nothing to do with it. That time that he brings his mincha, he brings it in one shot, the entire Yisar. And then the Kohen Gadol, every single day, brings a mincha. Rabbi Yashiv says that a Kohen Gadol has to grow. He has to steig every day. That's his job. He has to get better every day. So as he's getting better every day, for that he has to bring a minchas chinuch. He's stepping it up. Every day becomes a better person. For that betterment, he has to bring a mincha. So says the Gemara, The first time in any kohen, not a kohen gadol, any kohen, first time he gets up there to do the avodah, maybe asir say v'shaloi, he brings his own isar, vayvda biyadai, and he takes care of it, and he does the whole thing, he does whatever he has to do. We'll see. There's a whole procedure: water, oil, baking. He does it himself. Echad kohen gadol, echad kohen edid sha'avdu, ad shelo yiviu asir say v'shalohen. If a kohen hedyot and a kohen gadol do the avodah, they bake it, let's say, but they never did their minchas chinuch. They were never mechunach. They never were initiated through this mincha. Ha'efa shalahem avidasan. What do you think it should say? The next word. So the Vilna Gaon takes out the word kshera and puts in psula. It's puzzle. How could somebody that's not a good kohen do the avodah? But over here it says kshera. Rabbi Mana Bai Meimar. So Rabbi Mana wanted to say, Boi Bayayim Sheniskar Tchila Avoida, Boi Bayayim Nisman Eliyas Kohen Gadol. Think about it. The day that the Kohen Gadol, they said, Shalom Aleichem, you're invited to be the Kohen Gadol. But he never got his initiation to be a regular Kohen Gadol. Forget a Kohen, for a regular Kohen, forget about Kohen Gadol. So how many menachos does he have to bring? If he's a regular Kohen, he has to bring one mincha. And then when he becomes 45 years old, he has to bring a second mincha when he becomes a Kohen Gadol. But this guy is a young guy. He just became a Kohen. He just became initiated. They want to initiate him. So does that one mincha work for both the Kohen Hedyan and the Kohen Gadol? Plus, he also has to bring a minchas chavidim as a Kohen Gadol today. So how many minachas does he have to bring? Says Rabbi Mana, maybe shtayim. You don't have to bring 3, you only have to bring 2. But it's only by. He wanted to say that because the Bavli Paskins, he has to bring 3. 1 for a regular Kohen, 1 for the Kohen Gadol, and 1 for the Kohen Gadol that brings every day. The one from the lifetime that the Kohen Gadol brings it, the first day that he becomes a Kohen Gadol, and the one that every Kohen Gadol brings every single day. So that's 2. Plus he's a regular Kohen. Don't forget he's a regular. He has to bring 3. But he wanted to say it's 2. Says the Gemara, it didn't print. Tufine. Okay, next time. You know what? You can't go from a bar park, beautiful popping letters, to a black and white sign. It just doesn't work. We might have to do it Motzei Shabbos. I don't know. It says in the pasuk Tufine. Chaval, it didn't print. Mamish chaval. Okay. The pasuk starts off. We probably see the pasuk on the side here. Yeah. Top pasuk. Am machvaz b'Hashem en tiyasa. So you see, there's the concept of oil. He fries it in oil. Murbeches, it has to be like a bagel. It's scalded in hot water. Tufine means it's baked. So we're going to see about this word tufine. What does tufine mean? Tufine b'shas hava. So you have to bake it as you bring it. Don't bake it in the morning before Neitzachama at dawn. Tufine ve'im b'shachris tufine. Sorry. So you read like this. Tufine b'shas hava tufine. When you bring it, that's when you bake it. Ve'im b'shachris, not pre-Neitz, not dawn, should you bake it. That's too early. But before Neitzachama, by dawn, they already had people baking these menachas. So you see, you could do it before dawn. So it seems like these menachas were like a bagel. They took the dough and they scalded it in hot water. To heat up the water, that you can do pre-dawn, but you're not actually making the bagel. The bagel has to be after Neitzachama. So they hemidu oisa chavita, meaning they put a person in charge of making the hot water. Tufine, sorry about my stomach, it's from not eating. Tufine, Rabbi Yaisei, b'shem Rabbi Chanina, mitagno v'achkach oifa oisa. So the question is, how exactly do you make it? Do you first fry it and then bake it? Rabbi b'shem, that's what he says. So in the pasuk, it actually says, if you look in the pasuk, it says first, amachvas b'shem and tiyasa, and only afterwards it says tufine. Afterwards you bake it. He says no. First you bake it, then you deep fry it. Tufine, Now here comes a few pshatim. The guy sticks in, and the words like you've seen somewhere else. Tufine toifena na. Na, we learned in Psachim. What does na mean? The word na, you have to eat the korban pesach. Na. It has to be undercooked. Sorry, you can't eat it na. But over here, toifena na, this has to be partially cooked. Rebbe Omer toifena na. You have to cook it. You have to bake it nicely. It should be a beautiful bread. And the Gemara is going to explain what that means. There's a big nafkamina. Do you fry it first and then bake it, or bake it first and then fry it? But what looks better? If you bake something first, it has the shape, and then you fry it, that might be nicer. The word toifena, many times, riba, you should bake it many times. In other words, it should be perfect. Asyan ilain pagvasa kihinan pagvasa. Ilan pagvasa kihinan pagvasa. These, in the first machlokes of whether frying comes before baking or baking before frying, is like this machlokes like we had it over here. That what? The one that says that toifena, right? Toife. What does tofena mean? Teofe. It's a two words. You should bake it. Na'a. Toifena. Bake it. Na'a. It should be nice. Manda Omer, that coincides. That goes together with the Manda Omer that says it should be beautiful. So first you throw it in the oven, so it has its shape. Once it has its shape, then you can throw it in oil if you want. Manda Omer toifena. No, that you should make sure that you bake it. Undercooked, underbaked. That fits in better to you deep fry it first. So it's not 100% baked. It's fried inside, it's gooey. And then you throw it in the oven, but it's still underbaked, undercooked. Says the Gemara, so continuing with that Mishnah that we learned. That what? It's not our Mishnah, but over there in Menachos. You have a Kohen Gadol who brought a mincha in the morning, his mincha, but died. So, another Kohen, says the Gemara, it's not only if he dies. Elo afilu nitma is like a question. What happens if he didn't die, but he had a spiritual death? In other words, he cannot physically bring a mincha. Why? Because he's tamei. Afilu nitcha memum. What if he never got some sort of injury or something that might go away? Right now, he had cataract, whatever it is, he has a mum, he cannot bring it. Tani Rabbi Yehuda bar Pazi, devar deloya from deloya, vafilu nitcha mimum. So it seems like over here that he says, okay, if he has a mum, so it's the same thing as dying. For right now, he can't bring anything, so we bring another Kohen Gadol in, somebody else brings it, fine. But the Gemara, there's no resolution on if he's tamei. Tamei is different. It's not as bad as a mum. So we don't know. It says the Gemara, Menayin leKohen Gadol shemeis. V'lo iminu achad achlav shtei minchazik reva mishal yarshim. A Kohen Gadol who died, and there's no other Kohen Gadol to bring the mincha. So how do you know that it comes from the yarshim? Very simple. It's in the version of the pasuk. His son should do it. Maybe they should be like their father who brings half in the morning and half in the evening. The entire thing. Reb Shimon Omer in a ba elam shel tzibur, not true, not from the yarshim, it comes from the community. Shenemar chak olam. The guy says over here, Mishel mi olam, from the person, from the being, the HaKadosh Baruch who is the world. In other words, it comes from the tzibur misha bris krusaloi. Our bris is to him. Kol taktar. However, kol laktara. The entire thing goes onto the mizbeach. Nothing remains for the kohen. Typically, you take a kmitza like this, and some of it remains for you, and some of it, the whole thing goes on the mizbeach. Rabboisai, have a wonderful week, and if you're in America, have a wonderful Shabbos. Don't forget Tziras HaOmer. A gewaldige Tag. Rabbi Yaakov Badner, Shalom Aleichem, how are you? You guys could all unmute now. Oh, I need to unmute. Sorry.
About Eliyahu Navi with the meat.
What?
The Ravens brought him the meat.
What happened about the what?
The Ravens brought Eliyahu Navi the meat when he was in the cave hiding.
Oh. So when we learned the sugya there, in Bavli, we discussed it. I think the Gemara actually talks about it. If I'm not mistaken, the Gemara talks about it. Yeah, listen, it's different. I don't remember what the Gemara says. I'm pretty sure. It's not the first time I heard the kasha.
Shabbos.
But Shabbos, I have to actually.
Introduce Shabbos, everyone. See you.
The Shabbos.
Same time.
What's the story with Muncie, Taco? Mark, what's the story with Muncie?
Shabbos, that's it. We're having a nice dinner here.
Well, you'll give me details, etc. Shall I Uber it?
No, don't Uber it. When's the shit coming to Lakewood?
You got to be cushy like the Muncie guys.
Yeah.
Ellie.
Ellie.
Marty, I saw your son today. He told you? I went to Rabbi Pfeiffer's house, and right in front. Well, interesting story. I'll tell you a story. I saw 3 little kids, blonde kids on bikes, and they went like this to me. So I figured they want me to cross in the street. So I pulled my car over, and I go out to cross them. They said, no, we want to watch the fire truck. And then I went down the block, parked my car, and all of a sudden I see your son there, and I realized they're all his kids. Zisa kids, Marty.
Ellie, thank you for doing these shiurim Erev Shabbos. It makes Shabbos wonderful going in from a shiur Daf Yomi. It's the
Wow,
best.
Yishkoyach. Wow, thank you.
Ellie. Rabbi Ellie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed last night.
Yeah.
Because my boss was going to be home too late. I wasn't able to.
Don't worry about it. I'm kidding. I just wanted to tell you that I missed you. I noticed you weren't there, and I missed you.
I was very upset. I wasn't able to come.
It's Beseder Gomer. Moichel, next time.
Ellie,
Have a good
when you go back to Israel?
Shabbos. I am leaving Be'ezer Hashem on Sunday. Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, just let the shiur to know that we're having a vort on Monday at 8 o'clock in Lawrence.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Mark.
9 beach.
Who does a vart on Monday? You should do the vart on Sunday. Then I'll be able to attend.
It's Monday night we're doing it. Rosh Chodesh.
Got it. Okay, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. Good Shabbos, Steven. Good Shabbos. I see you're right next to your Yaakov Badner. Shalom Aleichem, Yaakov. How you doing?
Good Shabbos. Take care.
Good Shabbos. Rabbi, I'm going to run also. I have to get my COVID test before Shabbos.
Before Shabbos, not
Good Shabbos, everybody. Zaykezon, take care. Zaykezon, take care. Bye. Good Shabbos.